You're watching Tough Talk Tuesday. Always, I'm your host, Lucas Biggers, and beside me is Jules. And today we do have special guest, Gary Russell Sr. Gary Russell Sr., how you doing, sir?
Man, I'm wonderful. How you feeling?
Not too bad at all. All right, you guys are deep in camp. How's it going?
Yeah, man. I mean, we got our hands full, man. You know, I had my hands full. I got all three of my sons boxing on the same card, and I'm pretty much the only trainer. And so my hands have been full, man. We're doing 2 days, and just continuous work, nonstop.
Oh man, I can imagine. Gary Russell Jr. Is pretty much known for his quick hands. One of the fastest hands in the sport. Do you think he deserves the title as the fastest in boxing?
I think he really does have extremely fast hands. That title can somewhat be deserved. Yeah, he deserves that title. I've watched a lot of fighters coming up now, and he shows more controlled speed than a lot of them.
Gotta agree with that. He throws lightning.
Yeah.
The only person that really can keep up with him, well, one of them is Amir Khan. But,
oh yes, Amir Khan has
excellent
speed. Amir Khan has good speed. There's someone else out there who has good hand speed, but Amir Khan has pretty fast hands. I've yet to see him put together like a 5-punch combination just with straight speed.
Pacquiao has some lightning hands too, but he has gotten slower as he's aged.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's going to happen to all of them.
That's
if
true.
you live long enough, you're going to slow down.
That's unavoidable.
It's unavoidable completely. I think the thing too that a lot of people, look at Gary and his hand speed, but they overlook his power punching. Gary is a natural puncher with both hands.
Okay. So you think his power is very underestimated?
Yeah, by the spectators, by those who have been privileged to be on the end of it, they know what it is. He can punch. The kid can really punch.
He's only got one blemish on his record, and of course that's to Vasyl Lomachenko. What do you think went wrong in that fight?
He incorporated a strength and conditioning guy. We went to the fights. We were 5 days up there early. We were on weight. We had a gym we trained in. After we trained, he checked his weight. He was like a pound under. So I told him, I said, make you eat something. We got 5 days. He ate to put on 2 pounds. I think the magnitude of the fight was with him. He just magnified it. So after we trained, I said, sleep off a pound. We train off a pound. You good. He wanted to weight off to make sure he'd be on. I went to the hotel. I assumed that he was going to the hotel. The strength and conditioning guy took him to the sauna and set him in the sauna. Day 2 was the same thing. No time did I know that he was going to sit in that sauna. The day of the weigh-in, it was the morning of the weigh-in. I was calling the strength and conditioning guy. He left and came back to D.C. Nobody knew where he was at all. The day of the fight, after the first round, I seen that something was wrong physically, and he was like completely dehydrated. That sauna drained everything out of him.
Oh, wow.
He had no speed. He had no power. I mean, he was like walking with lead boots on.
I mean, regardless, it was still a good fight. Is that a fight? I know Lomachenko went up in weight, but is that something that you guys were wanting, a rematch of?
Me personally, I want to clean out the division we in. Gary is completely mesmerized by moving up. One thing I know about him, he doesn't threaten people. He's not a boastful type of person. But this Lomachenko thing, because of the circumstances surrounding him going into the fight, he takes that very, very, very serious, and he calls this guy out every chance he gets. So yes, we would definitely move up. If it's the last fight of his career, he will move up to face Lomachenko. He's already told me, Dad, I don't even need no technical training. Just to be in shape and be strong. That's all I need.
He's taking on Iskandar in the mandatory fight. But assuming he gets past him with flying colors, who can we see him going up against in the future?
We're looking at, I guess, number ones with the number twos. There's a couple big name fights there. What's the kid's name? Adrien Broner, Leo Santa Cruz, Frampton. All those are good fights. I think this guy, Lee Salisbury. All these guys are there that we're trying to get at, but we overlook nobody. So we have to get past the gentleman we have in front of us.
Okay. So a potential unification fight.
We asked for the unification fight a while back, but they wouldn't give it to us. So, we'll just fight our way to that. If we're successful, we have a good night, everything goes according to plans, and we get past the gentleman we're about to fight, then we'll be politicking for, unifications.
I hope to see it soon. Let me go ahead and pass you off to another writer on mine. Jules, whenever you're ready.
Thanks a lot, Lucas. Mr. Gary Russell Sr., it's an absolute pleasure to interview you, and I definitely commend you for doing all that training with your sons. It's definitely honorable, and looking forward to seeing your other sons as well on the card. So definitely good luck in that camp.
Thank you.
One of the things I wanted to ask is, once again, Gary Russell, he's going to be fighting, Oscar Escandon and, defending his title. Are there any threats you see, from coming from Oscar Escandon? And if you do see any threats, do you feel like there's like a game plan you should be working on for him?
Well, absolutely. Every fight is a threat. We go in not really trying to protect something that we have. We go in always looking that we're fighting for the championship. We don't try to get placed thinking we the big dog. You just got to be 100% on game. You realizing this guy's coming to win, not to take a title, but to beat you. The title is a perk, but he's coming to beat you. He's bringing his best to defeat you. We're preparing a certain way after watching a couple of his fights. He fought actually, I think, his last fight in D.C. at the Armory. And he beat a kid who was pretty good. His fight style is aggressive, straightforward, and he makes you fight faster than what you want. If you're not comfortable fighting with somebody pressing you all the time, Gary calls it controlled mayhem. We've been working towards him coming forward because we know he's going to be there. We're not looking for a knockout. If it comes, we'll take it. If he sees it, and commits to it, then yeah, he's going to get stretched. But we're looking to go to 12 rounds. We're in condition to go to 12 rounds. We know he's a pressure fighter. We have contingencies to deal with that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And one of the things I've noticed, with Gary, I mean, besides his fight with, Christopher Pena, which went, 10 rounds, he looked marvelous against Johnny Gonzalez. I think it was, a fourth round TKO. Patrick Hyland, I think he knocked him out, in the second round as well. So is that something you guys are pressing more to really have Gary finish fights?
Um, no, I don't think any smart trainer or pugilist goes out there just to look for a knockout because that makes you reckless in a sense. You know what I mean? Um, it's something you have to build. If you hurt your opponent, you have to know how to finish him. You know, sometimes people just run to the table and just want to start eating. Well, you can't do that. You know, we have a little saying in the gym. You know, you got to dress the food up before you eat it. So if
Right,
he
right.
hurts this guy, then he'll get him. He's not going to run in there and just try to gorge himself and leave himself open. See, if he gets swinging hard, reckless punches trying to knock this guy out, then he can get cracked in between punching of this guy. So he has to just stay focused, stay mentally in control, have his ring IQ all the way up. And that's what we've been working on. You know, it's a control thing. There was a fight, I think that aired not too long ago, last week. Kid Rashi won. And, Rashi is just, fast hands, 3-time Olympian and all. And he was defending his belt. But what happened at his best, being Rashi, the hand speed was there, the swag, the personality. Only thing that happened, this guy wouldn't let him rest. See, a lot of fighters that fast, swagged up personality, they jab, boom, 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 combination, step off, shoot a jab, and feint. And the opponent's waiting outside for him to get that win. Well, this guy wasn't letting him get that win. So Rashi was out of the element. So that means he had to fight for the 3 minutes each second he was in the ring. And he wasn't accustomed to that, so it made him fight downhill. Like he was running downhill. We looking for pretty much the same type of fight, but we're preparing to be able to handle that pace.
Okay, very nice, very nice. And really, my last question is to really go back in terms of, the future for Gary Russell. Obviously, if he wins this fight against Oscar, what would you prefer? I mean, I know you said you wanted him to, clean out the division. I know Gary is really, pretty much would say, you know what, I want to move up, and I'm assuming avenge his loss to Vasyl Lomachenko. Is there anything you would prefer for Gary to do first?
My preference would be for him to probably get some of the more bigger fights, the Santa Cruzes, the Carl Framptons. These are high level, high finance fights. So these are we'll try to load the bank up, then we'll move up and go after Mr. Chenko.
All right. Thank you very much.
Alrighty.
All right, thank you for coming on the show, Gary. We wish you luck in the
I
future.
appreciate you for having me. Really appreciate you having me.
We will talk to you.
And also, I'd like to put a little shout out. I think we see Wednesday, the 1st of next month. We have an open training camp at our gym. Feel free to come out.
All right, everybody, you heard that. Come on out. Thank you, Gary, and we'll catch up with you later.
Okay, man.
Have a good night. All right, and for everybody listening, working on actually having Gary Russell Jr. on next week. I believe it's March 3rd, Jules, if I'm right. He's taking on Escondon.
Yes, that is 100% correct. Yep, in DC.
So look for that interview coming up next week. It should be on a Tuesday. But going forward here, this weekend, Broner Granados. That was a banger. It was a really good fight. It was close, but there seems to be a lot of controversy. How did you see that fight, Joel?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't see a robbery. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Granados was in Broner's hometown, and it was a robbery." It really wasn't. I thought it was a very close fight. Actually, it was closer than what I thought it was going to be. I thought, Broner was going to be a little more sensational. especially when they went up to 147 at the last second. So I really thought it was going to be a much more impressive victory for Broner, and I thought he was going to dazzle, but it was very close. And not to take anything away from Granados, he showed he had a lot of heart. He was tough, and he also showed that he's one of those guys where for him it's all about will. In that fight, you knew who was more skilled. You saw it. Broner was more skilled than Granados, but Granados just had that will to win, and I was very impressed with his aggressiveness. He was throwing a lot of combinations. He refused to just stop when Broner was hitting him. But once again, Luke, I cannot call it a robbery. I had it a draw, but it could have went either way, and I feel like Broner getting the win is not a robbery at all.
No, I would agree. I don't think it was a robbery. Do I wish the scores were a little bit closer? Yes, of course. But it is what it is. I see what people are saying, that to a certain extent, to Ohio judges, and of course they gave him the fight. Yeah, that definitely doesn't look good, but let's not kid ourselves. It was a very close fight, which should not have been the case, like you were talking about, Jules. I mean, come on, you changed the fight weight a week before the fight.
Right.
And, I mean, you handpicked him anyway. You picked Granados because he thinks he can get him out of there, especially, a week before the fight. You change it, you think you're going to have more power. And, to be honest, he was outworked. I mean, he may have not as landed as much and he wasn't as accurate, but he was the aggressor, and he was constantly making Broner uncomfortable.
Yeah, agreed 100%. And I think one of the things, a lot of people fail to realize is I think one of the Georgia scorecard had Granados winning for a pretty high margin. I think it was, 96-93, maybe? So it wasn't like, It was
97-93 Broner and then 97-93 Granados.
Yeah, exactly. So it was one of those things where it was like, okay, everybody's talking about a robbery, but as you said, Luke, the score should have been closer, and it was like one judge had, Granados winning, by a wide margin, and the other one had Adrien Broner winning by a wide margin, which was me. I'm saying, what fight were they looking at? You know
right.
what I mean?
It definitely should have been a lot closer. I agree.
Yeah, agreed 100%. But, once again, you really can't call it a robbery. I mean, a robbery would have been, all three judges having it, 97-93 for Broner. You know what I mean? But it was such just to show you, how, even though the fight wasn't a wide margin, how close it was. You had one judge having it for Granados and one judge having it for Broner. So it was a close fight. I can't call it a robbery. I know that to go off the subject, I know that a couple of shows ago I said I would like to see Crawford versus Broner. I definitely changed my mind after last Saturday. I do not want to see that for Broner's sake.
Yeah, he would get really hurt. We're gonna get onto that here in just a minute, but first I wanted to come back to the fight. Now, the 12th final round, actually just probably probably last minute. Broner landed a Fury, probably about a 6-7 punch combo. That won him the fight, right? I mean, if you're looking at the scorecards, you see 96-94. That one other scorecard for Broner. If that was awarded, that round was awarded to Granados, it's all of a sudden 95-95, and we have a split draw.
Yeah, agreed. And once again, as you said, that flurry definitely sealed the deal. It's funny. I was when I was watching the fight, I automatically thought of Sugar Ray Leonard when he fought Marvin Hagler. The last 30 seconds he would flurry and he would steal rounds. For Marvin Hagler, and that's pretty much what Broner did for the 12th. He sealed that deal by throwing that a 7-8 punch combination. But as you said, if Broner didn't throw the combination, we probably would have saw something different. We just saw, a draw, which I still had it anyway, but once again, definitely not a robbery. I personally feel that that's what's really hurting the sport of boxing. People who are experts and people who love the sport crying robbery for everything. No, that's not a robbery. There has been much worse in the sport.
I agree. I agree completely. Yeah, there is too much robbery. Every fight cannot be a robbery, and it's getting a misconception, and it hurts boxing. I mean, people don't want to watch it. You constantly say, oh, this fight was a robbery. Oh, this fight was a robbery. No, it's not. It was a very close fight. And honestly, at that point, at the end of that fight, I could have said either one of them would have won. As long as it's not by a huge margin, no problem. But even then, like you said, it's a close fight. So who's to say that a lot of those swing rounds didn't go to another person? It's really hard to say. So.
Agreed.
But going forward, where does Broner go from here? Because it sounds like he cannot make 147 anymore, and that is very detrimental because I don't think he's going to be do so well at 147.
You know what, Lucas? I'm going to be honest with you. I say this all the time. But besides his antics, I'm a Broner fan, and that question, I really don't know. At 147, there are a lot of guys who can really pretty much end his career. I mean, if you look at the way he was getting hit a lot by Granados, if he took one of those punches from Danny Garcia or Keith Thurman, it would have been no robbery. It would have been a stretcher. I mean, that's just that's just the reality of it. And he can't really go against those guys at 147. In my personal opinion, I mean, even at 140, if he can't make the 140 limit and he's struggling to fight at 140, he's not going to be able to beat some of the top guys there either. So he's really at a crossroads.
I mean, for me, it's not even just the weight. It seems like he's still trying to get by on just his talent. Because we've seen better versions of Broner. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, even the first version, when he fought Maidana, even though he got his ass whooped in that fight, that was still a much better version of Broner. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. To be honest with you, even though I'm a Broner fan, I picked Maidana to win that fight, and I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't expect Broner to really fight the way that he fought. He fought with a lot of heart. He was using combinations at times, and there were also times where he was wearing Maidana down at times. So yeah, you're right. We have seen better versions of Adrien Broner. I think one of the things that Adrien Broner needs to really understand is he's not Floyd Mayweather. He's not Floyd. He's got to get out of that shoulder roll habit. He's got to get out of that trying to use his talent. Because, the reality is no matter how talented he is, he's got to establish his own identity. He can't be flat-footed. He has his flaws. He can't be flat-footed. He can't fight in flurries, and he just can't really take breaks. Because that's the reason why Granados was so close in the fight. He was taking breaks, and Granados was taking advantage. If Granados was a bigger puncher, Broner would have been in deep trouble.
Right. He doesn't have the endurance that he did at those lighter weights. He doesn't seem like, he eats a couple body punches and then he slows down in the very next round. He does not able to bounce back like he used to.
Yeah, personally speaking, I never thought 147 was the weight for him, even after he fought Paulie. When he fought Paulie, that was a close fight also. And it was one of those things where, we know Paulie is not a big puncher. But even at times, Paulie was able to stop Broner with the jab because it didn't seem like Broner had the endurance to go 12 rounds. I mean, he was able to really wear Paulie down later on in the fight. But, Paulie was showing, that, listen, Broner is not really a true welterweight. And personally, I really think he should discipline himself to stay at 140. 147 is a bad weight for him. Once again, he goes against those big punchers, and he takes a break. That's going to be it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never liked Broner as a person, but as a fighter, I got to say I do like him. I think he brings out a lot of talent in every fight. It's always entertaining too. I mean, every fight, especially the Maidana fight. That's a great fight, even though he did get knocked down a couple times. He was never really, out of the fight. And it is struggling to see, the guy waste his talent like that. But like you said, I mean, with his jump up in weight classes, when he skipped 140s, when a whole bunch of murderous people were in there, Lucas Matisse and Garcia. Peterson, he's friends with. I don't expect him to fight Peterson, but 140 was stacked at the time. Not that 147 wasn't, but he saw a weak belt for Malignaggi and tried to jump over and steal it from him. And Malignaggi gave him a really good fight. I believe I even had that a draw. But it was a very close fight, and he learned the hard way. You can't disrespect the weight classes like that. You can't just jump 2 weight classes and expect to go through that weight class like nobody's home. And Maidana showed him what's up, and he decided he needed to move back down. But I fully agree with you. He needs to stay at 140. 147 is too packed for him, and he has already declined fights with the likes of Pacquiao and the upper echelon type guys. So maybe he should try to stick at 140. The problem is, if he's not able to make 142 at the catch weight that he had with Granados, I'm not so sure he can continue.
Like, if his team really was honest with him and say, listen, you know what, we need to hire a nutritionist. We need to do everything in our power to keep you down to 140 because, once again, Granados gave him a lot of trouble, and the weight was changed, as you said, a week before the fight. It wasn't like, these guys knew they were fighting at 147. It was supposed to be at 142. All of a sudden, in a week before, it goes up to 147. And Granados is still giving him problems. Could you imagine the guy he's fighting a guy who knows it's going to be a 147, like a Danny Garcia or Keith Thurman? It's going to be a nightmare for him.
Right, definitely. And even if the fight was at 142 against Granados, we would have probably seen a whole different fight, especially if he trained himself to get down to it.
To get down there, yep.
And I also find it funny after the fight. One of his first comments was talking about his first time, like using it as an analogy for something else. And then he turns around and says that he's going to try to be a better role model. Dude, you just made yourself look stupid. Talking about backing out of a female, and then the next minute you're like, I'm going to be a better role model. No, you're not. You gotta love Broner.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's one of those another examples where we gotta stop interviewing fighters right after a fight.
Right.
That's probably what that is. Too many punches to the head.
Last thing on Broner, do you expect to see a rematch? He basically said he's definitely not coming to Chicago.
It's a very good question because I remember, hearing that in the post-fight. He said he wasn't coming back to Chicago. To be honest with you, Broner's really going to have no choice if he's going to stay at the welterweight division. I mean, obviously he doesn't have to go to Chicago because he is the A side.
Right.
I think, the ratings came in for the fight. It did extremely well for Showtime. I actually think it did. I think it was like the second highest rating fight since Stavern versus Wilder, I believe. So the fight did extremely well, on Showtime. And, once again, I mean, granted, there are fights where he can make more money, but, I mean, I really don't see him, having any other option where he can win. I mean, he can have fights where, he can take. But, I mean, just think about it. You got guys at 147, once again, besides Thurman Garcia, you got guys like Tim Bradley. You got guys like, even Jesse Vargas. Jesse Vargas is a, young, hungry lion. I don't see how Broner could beat Jesse Vargas at 147. So he's going to have some trouble. If he doesn't fight Granados and he doesn't go back to 140, then he's definitely going to have to change something up.
Definitely. I look forward to seeing it regardless. Like I said, he's always entertaining. So just nothing surprised there. It sounds like a fight being close to May between Pacquiao and Khan. Now, is this a fight you're excited for, willing to pay pay-per-view money for there, Jules?
I'm going to play pay-per-view money for it because I'm a sucker. I mean, I already know. I mean, it's just reality. I'm a sucker for boxing. I've said it all the time. I'm not going to pay for that fight. And, an hour before, I'm freaking scrambling to call my cable provider to pay for the fight. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to see it. I'm going to watch it. Is it, is it the fight that, I want now? I feel like it's one of those fights where a couple of years ago, it would have been a must-see fight, to really defend yourself paying for. Now, for me, it seems like a money grab. Once again, I'll pay for it because as much as I truly have the utmost respect for Amir Khan and his speed, I think Pacquiao takes his lights out again. So I'll
Yeah,
definitely.
I echo the statement. The thing is, though, with Pacquiao starting to age and actually show some of his age, it makes a little bit, at least a little bit more competitive. Whereas if they had it in their prime, I think Pacquiao wipes the floor with them. So
Luke, to interrupt you there, Pacquiao for me is showing his age via mercy. Because if you, no, seriously, if you watched his fight with Jesse Vargas, he dropped Vargas. You know what I mean? And that Pacquiao who fought Antonio Margarito or who fought Cotto would have been all over Jesse Vargas. And I feel like he's one of those guys where he's like, you know what, okay, I'm already beating you. I'm not gonna hurt you. And I think that's probably what may happen to Khan. I just don't feel like, even so, I don't feel like even a merciful Pacquiao that Khan is going to be able to take those punches.
yeah, you're probably right. And like you said, I mean, they already have your money. They already have my money. We're boxing heads. We're bought already, no matter who they fought, pretty much. We would be buying into it anyway, or at least finding some way to watch it, whether it be at a bar or whatever else. But are they gonna get the common fans money?
They will. I mean, Manny Pacquiao still Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean? And I think when it comes down to it, for the common heads, the only names that they know, are Mayweather and Pacquiao. Canelo's starting to be up there, and possibly Triple G. But really, the household names of the sport, and it's really sad to say as a hardcore boxing fan, is Mayweather and Pacquiao. And yeah, I think it's going to do extremely well. The UK, they're suckers, for the sport, so they're definitely going to pay for it. I see it doing over 1 million buys. I think his fight with Jesse Vargas at 300K. So Amir Khan versus Pacquiao should easily do 1 million.
Yeah, you're probably right. I would agree with that. This weekend, PBC, we got Wilder's return against Gerald Washington. Gerald have a chance for an upset here, Jules?
You know what? At first, I was saying Gerald was going to get crushed. I did say that to myself. I personally said I thought it was going to be a highlight reel knockout. But you know what I said to myself? I said, I remember when I said that about Hasim Rahman versus Lennox Lewis, and we all saw how that turned out. And when it comes down to heavyweights, one punch can end it all. So I'm not going to say that he doesn't have a chance. Do I think he wins? No. I think that Wilder does beat him. But, once again, there are a lot of factors. Wilder coming up in activity, coming off that surgery. So I feel like if it's the time to fight Wilder, it's now.
I agree, and I everything agree with everything, really. I mean, I still believe Wilder will get him out of there. It's just a matter of when. I've been wrong before. We never know, but like you said, with the heavier weights, one punch can end it. It doesn't matter when, but definitely see Wilder winning this weekend. And I think they put him on TV like that because he is on, I believe it's on Fox, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be on Fox. Yeah.
Network TV, and I think they kind of set him up. They think that Gerald Washington is going to be a highlight reel knockout for him, and to be honest, it's better for boxing if he does get knocked out really well. But no pressure on either guy there. But
exactly. I mean, I don't really think Wilder is going to go for the knockout. I think once again he's mindful of that surgery that he just had, and I think he's using Gerald Washington to get rounds. If Gerald Washington was smart, I feel like, or his Kent was smart, I feel like they should really take the inactivity and the surgery to his advantage. I think they should really press the fight, press the action, and say to Deontay Wilder, get his respect, saying, listen, this is not going to be an easy fight. And that's really the only shot they have winning, coming out extremely aggressive. Because if they just take it as a regular boxing match, Wilder is just going to put it on him.
Yeah, try to smother him in those long arms of his.
Exactly.
Definitely be my strategy. Now, I know you actually tweeted if people would buy Cotto Bradley if it were made pay-per-view. Anything Cotto pretty much going forward sounds like it's going to be pay-per-view. So me personally, I think that's even better than Cotto Kirkland. I think I got nothing but respect for Tim Bradley. He's already had a Hall of Fame career in my eyes, as well as Cotto. So I expect, nothing but an amazing fight out of two Hall of Famers. However, Twitter seemed to disagree. Only 17% said yes, that they would buy it. 50% said no. Another 33% just said it just depends on the undercard and if it was decent enough undercard. And I don't think they would be able to really put on a good undercard unless you just get two top-ranked guys. Because Rock Nation really doesn't have a whole lot of... they got, Cotto, Ward. Who else they got, Jules?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I really that's about it.
That's about it. Right? So I don't think they can really put together a very deep card. Is Vasquez Sammy Vasquez? It doesn't really matter. He just got knocked out, so he's not gonna be fighting anytime soon. But they don't really have a lot to make a deep card, so I don't really see that going very well unless Top Rank puts in a lot more fighters into it. But so it's sad to hear that that one isn't going to be as popular as what I thought it would be. But to even more throw me off, I asked everybody, hey, are you going to buy Gennady Golovkin versus Brandon Jacobs? And you're not going to believe the response we got. 83% said no, they're not going to buy it.
Wow.
Why is that?
You know what? I'm saying, well, maybe I'm not surprised. I think, listen, once again, I'm a boxing head. I purchased Triple G versus Lemieux, and I was not disappointed. It was, it was one of those things where, Triple G showed, he did what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to knock David Lemieux out, and he did. I think, personally speaking, Mayweather versus Pacquiao, this is the Mayweather versus Pacquiao after effect. I think a lot of people are upset that they dished out $100, for that fight. And I think a lot of fights, a lot of boxing matches are really gonna pay the price. If you're not well known, once again, like Cotto versus Canelo, which, did $900K 6 months after Mayweather-Pacquiao, I feel like if you're not any of those guys, you're not really gonna do a lot of buys. And it showed it, once again with Ward versus Kovalev. Ward versus Kovalev was a pound-for-pound fight. It was a fight against two undefeated fighters, and that fight did 160,000 buys. And I personally feel it's the Mayweather-Pacquiao effect. I think a lot of fans are really still bitter about it, and they're like, listen, if we don't get Canelo versus Triple G, we are not paying.
I agree. Not enough people talk about the after effect of Mayweather-Pacquiao. I think it did more harm than good. I honestly do. Maybe it would have been better if they just never fought each other. You got to look at how it's even affected like Pacquiao and Mayweather too. After that fight, it didn't matter who they fought. Nobody really gave a shit. They're like, it's not Pacquiao Bradley, and Pacquiao's the only one that stood a chance. Who cares? That's not necessarily how it is. Styles make fights for a reason, but that's not what common fans see. They're saying,
right.
Oh, well, you got this guy, he's supposed to be the best of the era, as well as this guy who's the best of the era, and if they can't beat each other, then, it is what it is, and that's all she wrote. So after that fight,
right.
A lot of common fans just lost interest, and they're not paying for fights. But I also think this is a Canelo-Golovkin effect, whereas Golovkin, we don't really want to see him fight anybody. Now, Brandon Jacobs, to a lot of, people in the know, know he's, a bad man but He's nobody been messed with, but some of the common fans are going to know Gennady Golovkin more than they will Jacobs. So when they hear, oh, Golovkin's just knocking somebody else out, which isn't the case. It's not just a somebody. This is the champ. So it's a unification fight, but a lot of people don't see it that way.
Yeah, agreed. One of the things that I notice about boxing and boxing heads is they'll they'll see a fight if it's on HBO or if it's happened to be on. But once again, the whole pay-per-view thing, a lot of people are, as you said, they're hesitant because, once again, not to sound like a broken record, it's the Mayweather versus Pacquiao effect. Because if you look at Triple G versus Lemieux, Triple G versus Lemieux, the gate did phenomenal. I think they did like 16, 17 million. Like, they did really well for the gate. It was the pay-per-view buys was absolutely atrocious. And that's obviously the reason why, Canelo's team are arguing that, Triple G should just take 15 million and be happy with that. So, personally speaking, I think right now, in order for pay-per-view to be booming for a lot of those fights, like a Gennady Golovkin versus Daniel Jacobs, and it may be good for us because I feel that now promoters are going to have no choice but to put stacked undercards. You know what I mean? Instead of putting, subpar undercards and then the main event where nobody's paying attention to the main event. And I think that's the only way that boxing pay-per-view can see a surge, putting on really, really good undercards and having people, pumped up for the main event.
I agree, and that's something the One did when Mayweather fought Canelo. That was not just Mayweather-Canelo. I mean, that undercard was really stacked.
Stacked, yeah.
The co-main was Matisse Garcia.
Matisse versus Garcia,
and,
yeah.
I mean, I was more excited for that than for Canelo. I already knew Mayweather was going to beat Canelo, so I was more excited for Matisse Garcia, and that fight did not disappoint. But yeah, definitely. I mean, that's just something that boxing has to work itself out, I guess. I think that's about it for this week. Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on, Jules?
Yeah, actually, I want to ask your feelings about Santa Cruz saying he's not going to go overseas for the Frampton rematch. That's been a talk, saying that he does not want to go overseas, for the rematch. And I wanted to get your thoughts on it because I actually kind of see Santa Cruz's point. You know what I mean? I feel
I mean, you can call the guy a punk for not wanting to do it if you want, but you got to see his point. I mean, a lot of guys going overseas and then, get the screw job. So, and he just won, too. So he should have the upper hand. He should have a little bit more of the say of kind of where it goes. However, he may make more money if it does go to UK.
Right.
So he's kind of shooting himself in the foot that way, because I really do think he's going to make a lot more money, sell out a much bigger crowd in the UK, but he may also lose, which draws down his money in the long run. So I see where he's coming from, but you got to have faith in your ability, and you gotta trust the judges. I mean, there's bad judges everywhere, so it's hard for me to say, bad on you, Leo, for not, but because I definitely see where he's coming from.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was talking to somebody on Twitter, and they were saying the same thing. Oh, Leo Santa Cruz should just do it. What has he got to lose? And I said, what has he got to lose? Everything. I mean, Leo Santa Cruz is not a guy who is looking for the stoppage. He's not looking to see, okay, I'm going to take this out of the judge's hands. Leo Santa Cruz is not a big puncher. We know that. And I think his whole thing is, listen, you know what? I want a fair shake. If I outbox this guy, and, the UK judges see it a draw, which I'm not saying that they will. I'm not saying that they're terrible judges in the UK. As a matter of fact, they've gotten a lot of fights right than here. But still, it's if it's a close fight and Santa Cruz may feel he edged it, and if he did, most likely they're gonna put it a draw. So I see where he's coming from. I'm not mad at it. I just hope it doesn't take away a third fight. I would love to see a trilogy. I think it could be. Right now, it's touted to be one of the best trilogies we've seen in boxing in a long time. So I hope it goes through.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, that is drawn a lot of excitement. I mean, I got to see the third fight. It's something of Ward Gotti-esque. So it's got to continue. Got to see that third fight. And I really hope it doesn't end in a draw.
You and me both.
All right. Well, Jules, thanks for coming on, and to our thank you also to our special guest this evening of Gary Russell Sr. Check in again next week, Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern, and hopefully we will have Gary Russell Jr. also on the line. Working that out. If not, we will definitely work on other guests. Stay tuned. Check us out at Heavy Bag Boxing. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. We always we always stream the show live to Facebook. But thank you everybody for listening and watching in, and have a good night. All right, thanks, Jules. Gonna go ahead and get this moved over to YouTube, and I'll get it forwarded out to everybody.
All right, awesome, Luke.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right, talk to you.